Okay, here we are back at the home page, and let's take a look at the assignments that are in the modules. Okay, so in the modules, let's start with week 1 because that's where we start getting into the repetitive, sort of predictable contents. First off, you'll notice I've listed your reading assignment in each module so that you'll remember what chapter you're supposed to be working on. So it's on that reading list that I encouraged you to print from the syllabus, page 9. It's also contained here. You'll also know notice that in week 1 I've got this link called week 1 lectures, and it's download. So if you click on that, go ahead and open the PDF file, because I don't know that these hyperlinks necessarily work. Let's try it. Why not, right? Oh, it does work. Yay. Okay, so these lectures are just like what you're listening to. It's just a different company I used before called Camtasia Relay. And these lectures are my normal in-class lectures that I would give in a normal class. So I don't know about you guys, but when I was a student, I had a lot going on. I was working 32 hours a week to put myself through school, and I lived an hour away from campus. And we didn't have online classes back in the ancient 1980s when I was a student. And so sometimes something had to give for me as a student. And for me, I sometimes had to I didn't get through all my reading. Let's just put it that way. I did not necessarily read every chapter of every book in every class I took. I would attend every single class and take really good notes and really pay attention and really listen actively in lecture. And for most classes, I did decently well, even though I hadn't necessarily read the book. So for example, I was a student at UC Irvine, and I would manage to pull off like a B+, even though I hadn't necessarily read all of the book. Because, like I said, sometimes something has to give. You have a lot. I was lucky I didn't have children yet when I was in college, but a lot of you may have kids. You have, pressures on your time. My lectures are a little bit quicker way to get most of the information that's in the textbook. Is it going to be perfect and cover every single thing that I'm asking on the study guides for the midterms? Maybe not. But it's a good truncated way of getting information. So I really do recommend the PowerPoints, especially if you don't have time to do all your reading. And then also as an ancillary, there are some of you who are the sort of students who come to class every day, you do all of your reading, you do all of your homework. This is exactly the same kind of setup, so that, it would be like the equivalent of going to class. My lectures are maybe each week, maybe 3 hours max, maybe max. I don't think I exceed 3 hours in a week worth of materials. One thing to notice about the links, I've got them correctly organized. So you may be watching the lectures and all of a sudden it'll say chapter 2 and you're like, hold on, this was under the chapter 1 header. That's because when I made these lectures, I was using the full length version of the text that we're using now in the briefer version, and so she has combined some chapters. And so please bear with me. I've got them organized correctly on the spreadsheets. So just stick with it. It's okay. I've got it right on the spreadsheets. So we've got your reading assignment. We've got your lectures. And then, and so each week you have those things. Then I've got the link to your case study assignment. I've got a direct link to the development portal where you can then complete your student video activity and your learning curve games. And then I've got Project 1's assignment Dropbox here. So each week I've sort of organized it in a way that it should make sort of sense what's going on. You'll notice the due dates are listed over here on the right. Their points values are listed over here farther right. Now let's look at week 2 because it starts getting a little bit longer. And you're like, what's going on with all this? Okay, we've got a reading assignment. Here's the video that I've assigned as an ancillary, Life's Greatest Miracle. It's like a 53-minute video on conception to childbirth. Here are my week 2 lectures. And then in my lectures, you'll notice that there are links that are present, and I mention it as I'm lecturing. Oh, this is a link to a video on fetal development. Here's a link about ultrasounds. And I did put on here that these are graphic births because you actually see a baby emerge from a mommy's body. I didn't do any C-sections, but you see a baby emerging from the orifice that it's supposed to in a very graphic way. I mean, it's very specific. So I warn people because some people don't want to see that. Okay, you're welcome to not want to see that. I've got a basic hunger cry. Most of these are very brief. I mean, the birth ones are probably the longest at a 5-minute period. The basic and hunger cries are a couple of seconds long. Why breastfeeding is important is maybe 5 minutes. So most of these are very brief little videos that I show in class while I'm lecturing. And we have the assignment box for case study 2. And then again, we go to the development portal to do our student video and our learning curve. So remember, these student videos are a separate thing from any other videos that I'm suggesting. They're different from the Life's Greatest Miracle or the Seasons of Life videos, different from these videos that I talk about in my lectures. These are the ones that you're choosing and then doing the little quiz afterwards. And then we've got, now you'll say, wait a second, project 2 isn't due till week 3. Why is it in the week 2 module? Well, because you've got 2 weeks between due dates on the projects, I wanted to try and encourage students who are working ahead. So I went ahead and put project 2, even though, see, it's not due until January 28th. I put it in the week 2 module and I put it in the week 3 module. So you can do it when it's convenient for you, no later than January 28th. So you'll notice I did a little bit of repetition on these project postings. Then we've got down here in week 5, you see midterm 1 is linked, and it's only available for a week. So if I click on it now, which I just did, it says this quiz is locked until February 6th at 12 a.m. So it'll be available from February 6th through February 12th. And you need to find a time during that week where you can devote 60 minutes unfettered to taking the exam. So you have midterm 1 in your module 5 book, module 5 list. Sorry, just make up words while I'm talking. So you'll see midterm 1 is listed, and it'll be available pretty much, week 5, right? Because week 5 begins on February 6th and ends on February 12th. And then week 10 is when you'll find midterm 2. It's surprising how often your brain thinks of one thing and then your mouth says something else, isn't it? Okay, so hopefully these modules will start to make super deluxe good sense as you're going through. But if you have any questions or concerns or you're confused, please let me know. I just want to really reiterate that I've made a bunch of things available to you that you are not necessarily required to do. And that would be, technically the textbook. I don't know whether you've read it. The Life's Greatest Miracle, the Seasons of Life, the Death, Personal Understanding, those videos are all completely voluntary. You don't have to watch any of them if you don't want to. I'll give you extra credit if you watch the Seasons of Life, generate a question, and answer it yourself using the Burger text. The lectures are optional. If you want to watch them and listen to them, you're welcome to it. You are not required to do it. All of these linked videos are completely optional. They enhance your understanding and are not required. I've had students in the past who have said, "Oh my gosh, you give so much stuff. Why are you burying us with all this stuff?" What I'm trying to do is give you the information in a format that'll work for you. Hopefully between reading, watching videos, listening to lectures, something in that group will meet your needs and make it possible for you to encode the material to your best effect. And so I'm not trying to require you to do all of it. I'm trying to give you options. And, if you do all of these things, you're probably going to do really well in this class. But if you don't have time for it, I understand that. I totally understand. I don't necessarily expect you to do everything. I'm just trying to make sure you have all the tools you need. The things you are required to do are all these things from case study on down. You have to do the case study, you have to do the student video activity, you have to do the learning curve games, and you have to do the projects when they're due. It's all this stuff at the top that's optional, that are different ways for you to get information. So hopefully that makes sense. Try not to get all mad at me because I gave you too much stuff to do. Try and pick the things that work for you. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and I'll do a separate video on how to submit your projects and your case studies.